This episode is about academic education. It's about the study of chemistry, biology, and material science, about textured hair and melanated skin, and it's about next-gen cosmetic science and the value that lived experience brings to product formulation and ingredient innovation. For today's episode of the CosmoFactory podcast, I am speaking with Dr. Leyte Winfield, Professor of Chemistry and Director of the Cosmetic Science Program at Spelman College. Dr. Winfield, welcome to CosmoFactory.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm very glad for the chance to speak with you. Now, there are around the world, I believe, close to 30 institutions that are well known for training cosmetic scientists. Many of these specialize in beauty fields, in cosmetics, personal care, and/or fragrance, and several started in pharmaceutical programs that expanded then into cosmetics. Of course, many cosmetic scientists train in related fields and bring their knowledge to the beauty industry. But in the past 3 to 5 years, quite a number of colleges and universities have created dedicated cosmetic certificate or degree programs, and Spelman College is one of them. For listeners who may not be familiar with the school, Spelman was established in 1881 and is located in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. To get us started, I would love for you to introduce us to the program that you lead at Spelman.
Certainly, and just to piggyback off of some of the things you said, our program is situated in a time where we've seen increased need for scientific expertise in cosmetics and the personal care industry. And we also understand that need to be attributed to the increased demand for transparency in ingredients to be authentic and verifiable in terms of how we are defining claims, how we are assessing claims. And of course, we can't ignore the rise of MOCRA and AI as drivers to this increased need. So, with that in mind, I created the program because I recognize the importance of empowering our students to be creators of knowledge and the leaders of this innovation and research in this cosmetic and personal care industry. And you've already talked about us being located in Atlanta, but Spelman is a historically Black college dedicated to the education of women of African descent. And that is an ideal space for us to consider work related to textured hair and melanated skincare. And so, with that in mind, we created a program that integrates arts, medicine, science, and with the notion of beauty and aesthetics in a way that impacts the Black community to inform the work that's being done in the industry.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate it. I'm particularly wondering how cosmetic science is different from similar classical chemistry or biology courses beyond what you've just shared.
Absolutely. When we sat down to create this program, we understood, and we operate also in an environment, I should say, at Spelman, where interdisciplinarity is very important. And so our curriculum teaches students how to convert their scientific knowledge into practical understanding of the field. So, yes, chemistry is the foundation of all of the cosmetics we make. We also know that there's some physics involved as we understand fluid dynamics. We understand that individuals have to have a sense of what the market needs and how to translate that into science. So we created this interdisciplinary curriculum that features most of that. So students understand how to apply their knowledge.
Mhm.
If we look at the chemistry curriculum, it gives them a grounding in critical lab-based skills. And so we started there and making sure that the foundation is lab-based, so they have the technical expertise. But we also have freed up space in that curriculum where they can understand ingredients. So taking a deeper dive, a more intentional dive into the structure of ingredients, how they work together, how they help us formulate the products we need. And that also moves us into product design and understanding the anatomy of melanated skin and textured hair, perhaps in a way that we don't see in the curriculum that are currently available. So that's the core of where we are. But we also understand that there's social impacts. So we have courses like Psychology of Beauty and Beauty Matters that will be offered, that is being proposed by the English department to really talk about how beauty translates into our experiences, how it showcases how Black people live their lives. So I think that's going to be a very interesting course. We also partner with the Entrepreneurship Center because we understand that a lot of students in this space eventually want to become entrepreneurs and make their own products. And so it is a cut across all components and entry points into the cosmetic industry.
No, that's fantastic. It's not uncommon from time to time in the news to see pieces about salon stylists learning about working with textured hair or the need for that sort of education. It's interesting to think about how much further back, right, in the value chain, you're creating this sort of change. I really appreciate hearing about that. And you mentioned entrepreneurship there. I'm hoping you can give us a fuller sense of the type of jobs that your program graduates might take on. As you've said already, certainly some are entrepreneurs. I'm wondering, are you also seeing students interested in working with consumer brands, manufacturers, ingredient suppliers?
Absolutely. So when I thought about the entry points, there were in the larger buckets of whether or not students wanted to be lab-based, whether they wanted to be more business focused. But in the sense of lab-based jobs, we do see students wanting to be in spaces where they can create the products. And so that could be in terms of formulations, in terms of product development. They're very interested in that. But we're also seeing students who are interested in how we analyze the products and how do we prove their safety and prove their efficacy. There are also students interested in the technology aspects of beauty and how to create tools. And, moving beyond the lab, we do have students interested in content creation as well as marketing. And so that's just a small segment of the entry points that students have expressed interest in. But we also remind students that there are opportunities as it relates to regulation and legal aspects. There's opportunities related to broadcasting and how these claims get translated to the screen. There are opportunities even to work with training the stylists that you mentioned, who not only want to understand more about Black hair, but may want to be engaged in how we leverage their expertise to understand how these products are functioning.
Hmm. Hmm. That's fantastic. I think it can be kind of daunting when you're a student to realize that any job you want, you can find in any industry. And you've given a nice picture there of everything or many things I should say that's possible within the cosmetics and personal care space. That's excellent. You've mentioned a couple times that Spelman College is an HBCU or a historically Black college or university, and this certainly gives your program an opportunity to stand out in its approach to research on textured hair and melanated skin. I'm hoping you can talk about some of the projects or publications that students in the program have worked on to give us a sense of that research.
Thank you for asking me that because I get to brag on some of my colleagues who are leading these efforts. And I'll start with Michelle Gaines. She is our hair guru at the college. Her research is related to material science and chemical engineering, but she saw the need to have better parameters around how we define textured hair. So we're familiar with some of the systems that are out there currently, but she wanted to go in deeper. So when we look at Walker's system and we say you have 4A texture, and even some the expanded classifications that L'Oreal came with, what does that mean in terms of the diameter of the curls, actually getting in the lab and measuring that, the amount of heat it produces, the porosity, getting really deeper into those types of quantifiable parameters related to hair. Again, giving people information about the science that underpins things like the Walker system. The other colleague is Dr. Davita Kemp. She is a bioorganic chemist and she works with biogels. Right now, she has interest around creating new biogels for adhesives, particularly adhesives for hair extensions, but also adhesives for eyelash extensions. And so, also looking at other applications where such adhesive properties might be beneficial. So, how do we use these to reformulate even some mascaras and things of that nature?
Hmm. Hmm. And I know a little bit about academic research, but I'm hoping you can maybe just give us a sense of how this actually takes place and how students are involved. Is it a part of a course structure? Does it happen over over maybe 6 or 12 months? Does it result in, a peer-reviewed publication? How does this sort of progress at the university space?
I would say both and. So we have a number of ways students can enter research. They can do what we call academic year research, where they are working independently with those faculty members on their projects. That experience tends to span the lifetime of their existence at Spelman. So once they get into a research group, they tend to stay there. And so they will go and continue that project. If they start in their junior year, then that's 2 years they've given to that project most times. So that's the typical trajectory. We also have programs that have course-based research. So students might engage in research through a course and earn credit for that research in that way. They may also spend the summer where they can dedicate more time without the overshadowing of classes to exploring research.
Mhm.
And so, we have this other project that I should mention with our partners, Myavana, where it is looking at hair AI and how do we, improve how we are doing personalized recommendations, but also how do we get consumers the tools to understand the science of what they're buying and how it interacts with their hair, how it translates into the claims that they're hoping to see. So we do have students working on that project as well. That is a short-term project that goes for about 9 months, and it's done with one of our partners.
Mhm.
So there are a number of different ways they can engage with academic research um, on campus.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's excellent. I believe it was maybe 25 years ago now, we started using the acronym STEM, and STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. There's a movement that continues today to help more women have visibility and opportunity in STEM fields. Just briefly, can you talk about the contribution that Spelman College and the Cosmetic Science Program rather, is making in terms of women's STEM advancement?
So again, I'll say I am extremely fortunate to be at Spelman because some of that is innate to who we are as an institution. If we look at STEM, and I think that term came about when we continue to ask questions also about how do we train people for this workforce and wanting to give a specific framework around what this workforce was. But in the past 20 years, when we've paid serious attention to quantifying who's present in this space, there's been a consistent underrepresentation of women. So if we look at the statistics, we know that less than 3% of practicing scientists and engineers are Black women. And that's in all of STEM. If we look at the statistics specifically in the beauty industry, many will be surprised to learn that it's even smaller. The representation is even less or a fraction of what we see there. And so if we think about the underrepresentation in STEM, it is going to then impact the expertise we can access for the beauty industry. As Spelman continues to be the leader in training Black women to be experts in STEM, we have now the opportunity to also shift the demographics of those represented within the beauty industry, ensuring that Black women have a space there and can be seen again as those experts, as those leaders, as those who are creating the innovations in that space. And that's what we hope to galvanize through this program.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. And I appreciate your sharing those statistics. I know listeners who go to various events in the industry, especially in the United States, might seem to see or be a part of what feels like a very strong presence among Black women in cosmetic science. It just suggests that those women we see showing up are working that much harder than what we might have recognized. You mentioned already collaboration and partnerships there when you were talking about the research product projects that your team or your students are involved with. And I really think collaboration is critical to the ongoing success of our industry. Are there other examples of institutions or companies you've partnered with that you might want to tell us about?
Sure. I can speak to our partnerships with Estee Lauder and L'Oreal. They were early investors in what we were trying to establish at the institution, and we're really grateful for their contributions. Estee Lauder, in particular, helped us launch what we call the Black Beauty STEMinist Lab Intensive. So that gives us an opportunity to move beyond just Spelman students and bring cosmetic science to students at other HBCUs. We bring those individuals to the campus in the summer for 1 week where we introduce them to formulation across hair, skin, color, fragrance. They even do product development. And again, it's all in 1 week. That's why we say it's an intensive, but we will be moving into our third year of that partnership in 2026. L'Oreal also has helped us in terms of establishing some of our lab infrastructure related to cosmetic science, but they also helped us to extend the Black Beauty STEMinist project into a summit where we can start to establish a network of individuals who have STEM backgrounds in the beauty industry. So we bring together individuals from the laboratory, formulators, practitioners, doctors, um, entrepreneurs, you name it, just so that we have this collective network of individuals who are contributing to beauty industry who look like us, who are Black women. So we get to celebrate their contributions, but we also then get to pay it forward because then those individuals get to interact with those aspiring individuals who may be in the audience to help guide their career trajectory and show them the various ways they can engage in the beauty industry.
Mhm.
And I would say closer to home, um, we have partnerships with Design Essentials and we've had partnerships with Pattern Beauty as well. So it was very important to be connected to those one legacy brand and then, of course, one that will become a legacy brand. To have our students see that those individuals also believe in what we're doing here at Spelman was very important, and we also appreciate their contributions.
Mhm, mhm. Very good. And at the beginning of this episode, I did point out that there are more cosmetic science programs now than ever in higher education, but also independent and commercial programs.
Mhm.
You've suggested how important partnerships are, and I certainly think even beyond what you've shared, there's a lot of value in the networking and relationship building that must be going on in some of those initiatives. But can you give us a sense of how companies along the supply chain, maybe ingredient makers, product manufacturers, packaging companies, how the industry can support cosmetic science education? I'm in my imagination, maybe you want ingredient samples or internship opportunities, but it could be something else entirely.
All of the above, all of the above. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for that. I am extremely grateful to those raw material providers who have helped us to build out our inventory of raw materials that helped us get started in terms of our teaching laboratories. And so we have essential ingredients right here in town with us who, from the onstart, helped us create our for our certificate program, which I haven't spoken about, but we do have a certificate program for adult learners, but there is an at-home component, an at-home laboratory connected to that certificate. And this, essential ingredients were instrumental in allowing us to craft those experiments because they were able to provide us some sample formulations along with the ingredients for those formulations that students could work on at home in completion of this certificate. So definitely raw materials are important, but not only supplying the raw materials, working with us to create modules or case studies that our students can use to build their techniques and their skills in this area is also important. So we're definitely looking for partners to come alongside and do that type of curriculum development. And so I think that is some of the more critical areas where we're looking for partnerships. We're always looking for individuals who are willing to take our students on for internships or even longer engagements through co-ops if they can work through that. Speakers are always welcome. And I think there's also interest in just talking about what a bespoke type of support can look like.
Mhm, mhm. No, it's nice to hear all of that, and I'm sure other programs around the world and around the country would have similar needs and expectations. Dr. Winfield, I thank you for teaching us about the world of cosmetic science education today. It has been wonderful having you as my guest on the Cosmo Factory podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I really have enjoyed this.
Thank you so much for listening. If you find the Cosmo Factory podcast useful, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review and share your thoughts so even more cosmetic industry professionals can discover the Cosmo Factory. I'm Deanna Utrusky. Please join me again next Tuesday for a new episode of the Cosmo Factory podcast.